Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a really cool video on one hand today, but it's also somewhat unfortunate and controversial on the other side because I'm circling back with a good friend of mine, Joseph, who you've seen on the channel before. I think he was first introduced when we went to my friend Doug's house in New Orleans. He came on the trip too. And we were installing at the time the REL 25 in my friend Doug's systems with the MBLs. And Joseph had other REL subs at the time, but when he heard the REL 25 in Doug's, and we played the song Waukesha, that sold it for him. So since that time, I've just been in fun joking with him that he's Mr. Waukesha because he was able to make a decision on that sub just off that song alone. He knew it was better. But since then as well, I featured at his temporary home he was renting. He had gotten delivery of Rockport Cygnus, and they were a custom paint finish. But unfortunately, if you remember that video, or certainly thereafter, he noticed that there was some paint bubbling and finish issues. And at the time when I recorded my video, I was like, you know, this kind of thing happens, accidents happen or whatever, things slip by, quality control. I'm sure everything will be made right, and knowing just 3MA and at least assuming how Rockport would handle it, it's a $60,000 speaker. You can't have any blemishes at all. But as you're going to hear from Joseph, I don't want to put words in his mouth. He goes into a lot of detail. We're going to showcase his new system, which includes the Magico speakers and Ayon amps, and it's a beautiful, with the REL 25 subs, beautiful rack system. Everything looks great. He doesn't have room treatments yet, so, you know, don't ding him. There's going to be echo in the background. He just moved into the house, but the number one thing he did was put in his audio system first. So I'm giving you a first look at that, but also he's going to go into a lot of details of what happened with that Cygnus issue and how Rockport responded. Now, on the flip side, 3MA stepped to the plate, gave him loaner speakers for this whole time he's been out, and, you know, put him into some Magicos as a replacement, and he couldn't be happier. But I think it's important for me to share this story about what happened to him because it's indicative of something I don't think should ever happen in the hobby. Yeah, sometimes things can happen in shipping, or this probably wasn't in shipping, but things can go through quality control or bad paint. I can understand that. But it's really, as I've said many times on this channel, it's how companies address issues that are more important than sometimes the issues themselves. And the reason why I think it's even more important is that this is not now an isolated scenario. I talked about another one of my friends being one of the first purchasers of the Rockport Orions. They arrived with, probably in my opinion, I was there, I saw it firsthand, even worse paint blemishes. So I don't know what's happened over time because I've been a fan of Rockport for many years. I know there was a change in ownership. Don't know what all transpired or what, and I welcome them to share any side of the story different than what Joseph's going to share. And probably I'll even talk to 3MA at some point because they dropped 3MA as a dealer, one of the best dealers. And I'm sure they're not happy with me, but I had one of my biggest videos had Rockport Cygnus and REL 25, and everybody loves, and I've had no problems with anybody that has gear at 3MA enjoying my coverage of that gear. But for whatever reason, obviously I'm not going to sugarcoat things for you guys. I'm not going to be negative and be hypercritical just on my taste. But when I see something that universally I can say this will not fly with anybody at that price point, I am going to call it out. I'll overlook little things, but not something big like that at these price points. So I want to share this story with you. You can take this information however you want. And again, I welcome anybody from Rockport to share their own side of the story, and I will get more information, probably a sit-down interview like I've done in the past in the membership section. If you guys are members, you know we've done this with another brand in the past, and I've just kept that in the membership section, but I think this one deserves public attention. So enjoy his great new system and also the story behind the Rockport Cygnus that didn't work out as well. Okay guys, familiar figure in the background, Joseph, who you've seen on my channel before, in his beautiful new home. Just a quick look around here, beautiful. And he's got a cool home theater in the back. And as any good audiophile, the first thing he stocks his home with is the audio system. And he's got one of the most killer audio systems around. These are Magico M3s, REL 25s, a 2-pack of those. Ayons are his newest amps. Those are super powerful tube amps. And MBL Noble line for the preamp and DAC. So Joseph, this is awesome. I know you pivoted away from Rockport, and we're going to get to that at the end. But what's your thoughts so far with the Magicos?
I'm very, very impressed with the Magicos. Heard several different brands, the S7s, and they're really awesome. And I was kind of going back and forth between the S7 and the M3. Obviously, there are two different price points, but I was kind of, as you guys can see, I kind of favor red. And so when I was kind of looking at the S7s, and they didn't do a red that I was really interested in. It's a darker red. It's a beautiful color, but as you guys can see,
yeah,
we're kind of doing more.
You're more of the stark red than the maroonish. Yeah. You're definitely a red highlight guy.
So it was a darker red. So I was going to come up with a different color red, and then when me and Luis were talking with the Magico people, by the time we added that different paint, the price difference really it got a little closer to where the M3s were. And, just talking with people, and then, the people up at the rep over there at Magico was really great. He said, listen, the M series is far superior to the S series, just with the technology and everything. So I decided to go for it, even before I even heard the actual M3s, because I knew that there was a wait.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been almost waiting, I would say probably almost 18 months from the initial placing of the order with the Rockports to everything that I went through with them, to then having to start over and kind of figure out which direction I was going. I was kind of looking at some focals for a little bit. But I think one of the things was, the first thing I know that Johnny and Luis, I kind of take these guys are really hard to impress. And they went out to the Magico,
right,
out in San Francisco. They went out to the facility, and they didn't really bring too many pictures or anything, but just the way they talked about it, they were like blown away. And I was like, wow, really, like, Magico? Yeah, we're getting a line, so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I hear a lot about Magico, but I really haven't had a lot of experience with the line. So then I was watching a couple of videos, and you could just tell that Magico's philosophy is we really have a passion for what we do.
Mm-hmm.
The way, I was viewing the facility, and just understanding how much detail and intense care goes into how they build their speakers. So I decided I put the order in, finally got these babies home, and I am just, every day it's just really another experience. The detail, you can't really describe it to someone. I've never heard a speaker that produced more detail, more clarity. The things you're able to hear is just unbelievable. And it's kind of a situation where prior to, I was running the lambs, which lambs are awesome, but they're Class A, 100 watts. And I was told even prior to, when I was in the store, I believe his name is Peter, is their rep for this area. And he was explaining, he said, yeah, but it's not gonna be enough power. So I let the lambs go, and I was kind of in chase. Bought the Class A's,
mm-hmm.
And they're definitely enough power. And when I plugged them in, I was very, very happy. And I said to myself, it just doesn't get any better than this, just because you can go with some different amps. We had an option of the Luxman, I hooked up some past labs to it, and you know, the Class A was really here. I would rate them. Then you come in with the past labs, really punchy. But these past labs that I was using were the 260s, and even though it was more power than the lambs, it still just wasn't enough.
Really?
You know, yeah. As you kind of get up there into some higher volumes, it was starting to break up. So I said, no, we're not going to go that route. So then I really wound up settling in on these. And alongside of the fact that the sound and the performance, they just really kind of went along with my scheme of, you know, the red and the chrome and the black. You know, and when it lights up, this is red right here. So
it just matches the really stands cool. Perfect. Yeah.
You know, and you've got this polished chrome.
Yep, exactly.
That, you know, that. So it just made everything just really come together aesthetically.
Yeah, visually stunning. Yeah.
And then when you start getting into the acoustic line, it's on another level. It's definitely when you bring everything together, and it's really come together. Obviously, being an audiophile, seems like we're just never done. We're always chasing something high.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're always chasing, but I mean, even if it just stops right here, I'm more than satisfied.
Yeah, this is end game because you've got REL 25s as well, which is about as good as you can get for a seal box sub, any kind of sub, really. It's a big room with, as you can tell, you haven't even had a chance to put room treatments and stuff. So, you know, people that want to jump to conclusions, you just moved in relatively soon, so we got to do that. Yeah, in fact, these amps have been my friend Doug owned them originally, then Ryan, and now so it stays in the family. And so they've been around, and everybody has been raving about the sound. And you have the perfect house for them because the heat, which is only one of the drawbacks, is that it just goes straight up, and you don't have to worry about a space heater aspect to them. So yeah, this looks great, sounds great. We should talk a little bit about your experience with Rockport, because we promised last time I filmed you, we were at your temporary house and you took the ownership of the Cygnus, and then when we noticed that there was some paint issues, and I thought everything was going to be taken care of, and to 3MA's credit, I think they took care of you. They immediately gave you some S7s and stuff as loaners, but what ended up happening?
Well, after the moving day when you came in, and, you know, I was really excited, and then things just really went south, basically that night. So, you know, once everybody left, and, you know, you kind of get to wiping things and, you know, really critiquing, and I started noticing some bubbles in my paint. I saw one or two bubbles. So I went and got a flashlight, and I started going over the whole speaker. And then I actually saw swirls from when you use a buffer to buff the paint out. I said, wow. I thought to myself, wow. Wasn't happy at all.
And that's an over $60,000 speaker.
Absolutely. So I talked to Luis the next day, Luis and Johnny, told him I wasn't happy. And, you know, just, they kind of said, you know, well, what do you want to do? And, you know, basically I had ordered the speakers December, and I was told I was going to get them in April. Probably going to get them in April, at the latest May. Lo and behold, May comes around, they're supposed to be done. Start getting stories. What Luis was explaining to me, yeah, you know, I talked to them, they're going to ship in a couple weeks. The next couple weeks, I was like, cool, man, you know. Next thing you know, just things just kind of, I don't know if it was a communication issue, whatever it was that happened, you know, we went like June, July, And then, you know, they're like, oh, okay, we're ready. So apparently they shipped them. And like I said, you know, probably because I had an extended wait. You know, kind of was thinking about it, like, you know, well, what are the potentiality? What's the possibilities? What could we do? So he kind of reached out to Rockport, and they said, no, they weren't shipped like that. And at first, you know, they were kind of, they were real forthright. You know, they told Luis, spoke with the owner. He wanted to talk to me. Very apologetic. Said we're going to do whatever we can do to make it right. So what happened next was they came back with, what we'll do is tell him, I guess this is what they told Luis. Luis explained to me that I could keep the red Cygnus until they go make me some more and I go into production. And I'm still probably looking at 6 to 7 months. So I said to myself, you know, that's the part that kind of, that was what their offer was to me. And I thought to myself, I said, wait a minute, you get to hold my money, and while basically, instead of you guys going into the factory saying, hey, listen, the next pair of Cygnus that come off the line, send them and get them painted, they go to Mr. Martin. I felt like they were putting me at the back of the line because that was the initial lead time period.
Right. And you said you'd already waited a long time to begin with.
I already waited. I was told, you know, I was looking at 4 to 5 months or whatever, maybe 6 months. It was 5 months because it was the last day in December when I ordered them because I knew the price, because they told me the price was going up the next day, 1st of January. So what I did was I said, okay. And I thought about it, I said, man, I'm not going through that again, man. I'm just going to get some other speakers. So I told Luis, I said, I don't want them, you know. So they came out, packed them up. Our dialogue, even when I talked to the owner, he assured me, you know, they didn't ship like that. Meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's a possibility that it bubbled during shipping. That is a possibility. But there's no way that I'm going to get swirls and that comes from shipping.
Right.
That's totally impossible. So that part kind of rubbed me the wrong way. If you'd have came and said, hey man, look man, we just, you know, totally messed up, whatever, you know, I probably looked at it a little different. And if you'd have came and said, hey, you know, we're gonna knock some money off, we really care about you as a customer, I just felt totally disregarded. Like, we're just here to take your money. So anyway, speakers go back. Next thing I know, there seemed to be a lot of trouble where Luis, he was coming back to me saying, you know, basically like, you know, we're having some problems with Rockport, basically how they feel about, you know, dealing with this situation. And I quote, Luis said that he was told, per our dealer agreement, that's a warranty issue. So wait a minute, you ship speakers that you messed up. And let's even go back and talk about that point. Because for those speakers to get to my house, either one or two things happen. Because he explained to me that they had to get a different painter because they were Ferrari red. I had them painted Ferrari red. So they shipped the speakers out to get painted. Then they come back to the shop, you put all the components in. So either you have very, very poor quality control, no one checking the product, and you just put them in a box. I don't know how they missed them when you're putting the speakers in and putting the speaker back together to prepare for shipping. Or, which is the sad part, which is really what I think happened, you know, basically you were like, you know, the heck with it. And we're just gonna ship them to them anyway. Those are the only two variables.
Right.
You either had poor quality control or you just said, hey, it doesn't matter.
And we're talking about $60,000 speaker.
Yeah, $60,000.
That you waited many months for.
Many months for.
Well, I'm definitely going to get, I like to get everybody's side of the story, so I'm going to talk to Luis. I know they want to share their experience. And I welcome anybody from Rockport that's got a different opinion of what happened or what, but yeah, it's hard to argue based on what I know and have seen in the process and just heard anecdotally. And then coincidentally, our other mutual, our mutual friend had the same problem.
Steve,
yes.
Yeah, he wound up, he had an order in, and he was a little further behind on the production line.
On the Orions.
With the Orions, which is one of their newer models coming out.
And he had to send that one back.
They showed up at the shop and the exact same thing, which really, gives a lot of credibility to what I was saying and my gripes. Mm-hmm. And, that's why when I told you the two scenarios, whether, you just have poor quality control, or B, you're just shipping them and I don't care, because to ship them to my friend Steve, now you have to think about it like this. You're shipping the speaker with the exact same problem to a shop where they're already aware. Mm-hmm. The customer base is already aware. This is what the problem is. Because, they're on 3MA, we're all pretty close. I mean, it's not like, you just go in and buy stuff. I mean,
everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody. We hang out, we go to each other's houses, and, it's a relationship.
Well, I would argue that the Orion ones were even worse than yours, because that was evident as soon as they opened the box. Mm-hmm. Yours took a little bit while to see the swirls.
Right.
And again, it's not nitpicky at all. When you're talking about $60,000 and the Orions are 100-something thousand. And these, one thing that Alon said when I was over at doing their tour, these things go in your home. They're not in your garage like a car. But even a $30,000 Toyota has a better paint job level than what we saw on those, and the gaps and everything. And this is meticulously done, no issues. And we've had no issues that I've noticed being over at 3MA constantly with other brands and their finishes and shipping or anything. So the evidence is such where I think this is worthwhile for me to share. I usually like to be positive in the hobby, but this is something people need to know about, your experience, such that people can make their own decisions. And like I said, I'm welcome anybody from Rockport wants to share their side of the story and explain what happened now on 2 occasions. I welcome that, but I'm going to be talking to Luis as well. They want to share their side of the story.
And like you said, even Jason, when you're talking about, this is my home. So in my home, which really doesn't sit good, I'm fortunate enough to have a listening room, and then I have a home theater. And to have a $60,000 pair of speakers sitting in your audio room and the paint job, which as you saw, I have BMW 804s. And the paint job is far superior on those speakers.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah,
it just, it can't sit in my house. It just doesn't work. It just didn't work.
Part of the reason the prices are so high is because it takes a lot to create a beautiful cabinet, and that finish is what is part of the price. Obviously, the performance is one part, but you cannot have anything flawed in a $60,000 and in Orion's case over $100,000 speaker. Yeah. These are beautiful. I'm glad
carbon fiber finish on the side.
Yes, beautiful carbon fiber. Yeah.
Fix it up, but yeah.
Well, in the end, it all worked out for the best for you because you're happy and it sounds great, looks great, and you had to just wait a long time. I had to go through a lot of hassle. Kudos to the guys from 3MA for stepping up, letting you borrow some stuff in the interim, and fighting as much as they could on behalf of their customer. And I don't think they're a dealer anymore for Rockport, but again, we're going to get their side of the story. And again, like I said, I welcome everybody sharing whatever they want to share. Thank you for sharing your side of the story. And I'll probably have some listening clips in the future here. It's getting kind of late. It's almost midnight here, but we're going to have some listening clips from this awesome system. He got a chance to hear the Bach. I'm going to share a little clip we did with him here in my Bach. We may try it here one day. So stay tuned, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you back here soon.